Okay, welcome to Memory Maps. Today we're going to map the world and all of its continents. So the first thing you need to do is have all your materials. You should have a piece of paper, a pencil, and a ruler. And make sure your ruler has inches on it. Now, I'm going to show you some things that are very important. Whatever hand you write with, you're going to use as your, I'm going to call it your writing hand. Whatever hand you use the ruler with, the other hand is going to be your ruler hand. Now, when you are holding a ruler, you want to make sure that your fingers are in the center of the ruler. You do not want to be holding them like this, because then you'll get bumpy lines, and no one wants bumpy lines. You want to make sure they're in the center, and you want to make sure that your middle finger and your thumb are spread out so that you have enough time, pressure so that your ruler is not wiggly. If you hold it down here, then what happens is you make wiggly, crooked lines. So the more pressure you have on as much of the ruler as possible, the straighter your lines. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is fold our paper, hot dog. We call this hot dog. Fold it lengthwise, and then we're going to open it up, and we're going to fold it. We call this hamburger. So, okay, and then once you've gotten that, you're going to open it up, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to draw your lines. Now again, brace your fingers, spread them out, make sure they're in the center of your ruler, and you're going to draw straight down. Now, the reason why we keep our ruler hand in our ruler hand and the writing hand in the writing hand is because we don't want to cross over. If you cross over like this, you can't see. So, lefties, if you are a lefty, then you are going to have your ruler hand is going to be on your right hand, and your writing hand is going to be on your left. So I'm going to draw this as if I was a lefty, and I'm going to draw my line. So notice that I didn't cross over, because what happens is we tend to do this kind of stuff and then it gets crooked. Okay, so now we've gotten our first latitude line. If you say the word latitude, then your mouth goes flat. If you say longitude, then your mouth goes long. So you have an open mouth. Okay, so we're going to make our next latitude line. So find the inches side of your ruler and put the this latitude line marked up with the 6. Then you're going to go an inch over, and you're going to put a tick mark, which is just a little mark, to find a space, and then 1 at the 7 and 1 at the 5. Now notice that I didn't do it at the 5 itself. I did it on the actual inch line. Details matter, otherwise you get crooked lines. Okay, then I'm going to go on the other side, and I'm going to put my ruler at the 6, and I'm going to tick mark at the 5, tick mark at the 7, and now I'm going to turn my paper. I'm always turning my paper so that I have my writing hand where I can see it. Okay, now I'm going to match up these tick marks, and I'm going to draw a straight line. I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I'm going to do this as if I'm a lefty. So if I'm a lefty, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the paper like this, and I'm going to measure up the tick marks, and I'm going to put my ruler this way, and that's how a lefty would do it. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is make our next latitude lines. So I'm going to take the top of my paper, and I'm going to fold down to the latitude lines that we just made, not the center. We don't want to fold down to the center. We want to fold down to that first latitude line. So I have a thicker line, and then a thinner line. Okay, now I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold down to that first latitude line. So I have my thicker line, and then my thinner line. So now I'm going to draw the lines on those folds. Sometimes it's helpful to just put a little tick mark if you can't see the folds. Sometimes the lighting is a little off. So then I just do that. I'm turning my paper again. There's no award for those of you that want to try to do everything when it's sitting like this. It just is hard to do to make them straight. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take the edge of your paper and fold it into the center of your paper. So now this is our longitude line. So we've already made one, now we've made a second one. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that up. And now I'm going to turn my paper over and I'm going to do the same thing. Fold into the center. So these you can fold into the center, the other two you don't want to fold into the center. Okay, now I've got all the lines for my paper. What I'm going to do now is do what's called the compass rose. Now that's going to give us directions for our map. So I like to take my ruler and I'm going to make a cross. Okay, and I'm going to put little arrows on them. And then I'm going to bisect these. I'm going to do some math terms. I'm going to bisect these. And then, now I'm going to label them. And now my students like to say, never eat soggy worms. So north, east, south, west. Now I've heard people say never eat soggy waffles, but everybody eats soggy waffles because they put syrup on it. So my students said we can't say that. And I think they're right. So north and east we're going to put together, and you put the north first and the south first. So northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. There you go. So this is our compass rose. That's going to tell you the direction that we're using. So east is this side of the paper, west is this side of the paper, north and south. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start labeling the map. We're going to put our first longitude line is called the prime meridian. So P-R-I, prime. The E makes the I say its second sound. As in mermaid, I-D, and. Okay. And then we're going to do, and we capitalize everything except for the word of. So prime, P and R, P and M get capitalized. Now 90 degrees east and 90 degrees west. And now we're going to do our latitude lines. So this first one is the Arctic. So Arctic. Circle, and make sure, don't write it too big because you are going to be filling this up with continents, and so if your handwriting is humongous, then you're going to take up space and it looks messy. So Arctic, capitalize everything except the word of. Tropic, this one's the Tropic of Cancer. C-E. This one is the equator, E-Q, equator. Make sure we have the or here, equator. This one is tropic of Capricorn. Capricorn. And then Antarctic circle. So we have the Arctic circle and then the opposite of that, Antarctic. So the, down below, Antarctic circle. Okay, now we have labeled all of our lines. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start drawing our continents. Let's start with Antarctica. So you're going to go find the Antarctic circle and you're going to go just below it. You can pick the middle, you can pick over here. The Antarctica is pretty large. And then you're going to go on, find the Arctic circle, go all the way over to 90 degrees east. And you're going to put a dot. All right. The next thing you're going to do is draw a line to connect the two. And always use a ruler. It makes nice straight lines and then go down. Just going straight down through your paper. So it's going to cross over your compass rose if you made it large, but that's okay. Then we label it. Ant. So Antarctic circle, Antarctic. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is Australia. So find the equator, find the Tropic of Capricorn, and go right in the middle of that rectangle. And now you're going to drop down like you're making a crooked house on a hill. That's what I tell the kids. So this is going to go about a third of the way over and then a third of the way over. So now you've got the top of your crooked house. Then you're going to drop down a little bit. And then you're going to drop down a little bit farther. So now you're going to draw this is your roof of your crooked house. I don't know if people in Australia would be okay with me calling it the crooked house, but I have some friends there, maybe they wouldn't mind. Okay, then I'm going to go straight down. And then the only time we're not going to use a ruler is this guy. Whoop, we're going to swoop down that way. And now we have Australia. Australia. Okay. Now, we're going to start North America. Now, North America, we're going to do, I like to say about an inch. So we're going to go above the Arctic Circle just a bit, like a quarter of an inch, and then go about an inch over. And now we're going to do it the same distance and make a box. And then we use my ruler, turn our paper when necessary. Now this is what would be Alaska. And now we're going to do our eyeballs. So 90 degrees west, the prime meridian, and we're going to go about a third of the way over and a little above halfway between the edge of your paper and the Arctic Circle. Go above a little bit. And this is the top of Greenland. Now we're going to go to the intersection of 90 degrees west and the Tropic of Cancer, and we're going to draw a little dot. Now I'm going to make a straight line from that corner dot to the intersection, and then I'm just going to go a little bit to this corner and draw a line. So I made a little dot with my ruler so that I could make the bottom of Mexico. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just connect all these lines. So I'm going to connect the bottom of what would be Alaska, the top of what would be Alaska and Canada, and then Greenland. And now, so this would be Greenland, this would be Canada, and this would be the United States, and this would be Mexico. Okay, now we're going to draw South America. Oh, don't forget to label North America. North America. So we've got that in there, not America. Okay, the next thing, we're South America. So our grounding point, I always say there's some certain grounding points that help you to make sure you're in the right spot. So take your pinky and draw a little dot, put your pinky against 90 degrees west and the equator, and draw a dot. Now that's going to be your grounding point for South America. Now you're going to go up halfway between the Tropic of Cancer and the equator, and you're going to come on the other side of and you're going to go about, not quite halfway, but a little to the left of what would be halfway. Now we're going to go on the other side. Now this one is about a pinky width. This one's going to be a little, like 2 pinky widths over from that way, and I'm going to drop down just below that. Okay, we're almost there. Now we're going to make 2 more dots that are going to be in line with this dot. So find the equator, find the Tropic of Capricorn. We're going to go just below halfway. Now that dot and that dot should be in line. Now we're going to do one more, and this is going to be the bottom of Chile. And we're going to drop that down towards the Arctic Circle. Excuse me, the Antarctic Circle. And then we connect them. So you should have, I just turn my paper however I need to. Okay, that's South America. South America. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a line for Central America. Okay, this should probably drop down a little bit because they're not really that horizontal, but the great thing about memory maps is that we're not going for the exact, you'll notice that it's very geometrical and it's not, or geometric, and that it's not rounded and have edges and you can't see real detail, because the idea is just to know where the continents are and be able to get the idea down. And then when we break down individual continents to countries, then we get a little bit more detailed. So we're just kind of getting the idea of locations and what we have. So now we're going to start Africa. Find the very center of your paper. So the prime meridian and the equator. And you're going to do, I'm going to call them spider web corners, like as if these were bookshelves. I'm going to put one, actually before I do that, find the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator. So you should find a rectangle, this rectangle right here. And we're going to put our grounding point for Africa right there. So you're going to put it right in the center. Sorry, my head got in there. And then you're going to put one just to the right of it. Okay. Now we're going to go back over to our bookshelves and we're going to put a little spider in that corner and one on the other side of the prime meridian. And then we're going to go up this way and we're going to put a little dot. So now we've got almost all of them. Now we're going to find the dot we just made and our grounding point, and we're going to go about halfway, maybe a little bit closer to the grounding point, and we're going to go just above. So these dots are in line with each other. Now we're going to do our very last dot for Africa, and it is below the Tropic of Capricorn, and we're going to drop it down kind of in the middle between these two dots. And there you go. And now all we have to do is connect them. Now it's important to connect these like this, otherwise you get this kind of weird shape. So you want to make sure that this right here is called the Horn of Africa. So you want to make sure that sticks out. Okay, and we're going. We are almost there. We got one more continent to go, and then the oceans. Okay, and that is Africa. Capital Africa. Okay, we're going to do Europe and Asia. So the first dot you're going to make is right above this dot in Africa, and one right above this dot in Africa. Okay, now we're going to go all the way up to the prime meridian, and we're going to pretend we're going to put a little spider web in this little corner right here. Here we go. Okay, now find that little dot above Africa that we just made, and we're going to find that dot, and then we're going to swing up so that we are in the middle between where Africa is and 90° east. And we're going to put a dot. The next one we're going to do is a dot that is below the Tropic of Cancer, and it's in between 90° east and the dot we just made. And then we're going to do one more. We're going to find 90° east, we're going to find that dot we just made, and we're going to go on the other side. So about the same distance on 90° east. So on the west of it and the east of it. Okay, we have now finished all the dots. All we have to do is draw them out. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is this top one. You're just going to go straight across. Then I forgot one dot. Okay, guys, I'm not going to redo this. I'm just going to cut over here. Okay, before, we're actually going to do a dot here in this corner. Sorry. And one up here. There we go. You know what the great thing about erasers is? Everybody makes mistakes. So it's a great way to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and use my eraser and fix it. And that's okay. some of you may feel like, oh, I made a mistake and I have to redo it. Well, that's okay, because we're just learning. And you're going to do tons and tons of maps before you get it really, really good. And I have been doing these for years, and I just made a mistake, and that's okay. Okay, so now what I did is I took a dot here, and then I put one diagonal over the other side of the prime meridian. So it's like it's crisscrossing in between there. And then I drew a straight line to it. So I'm going to draw one line this way. I'm going to do my crisscross here. I'm going down, across, and I'm going to now, see this dot, the grounding point we did for Africa? I'm actually going to connect those. So it's going to be this kind of weird, like super close right there. That's okay. That's what happens. And then we're going to curve up. So you get another one where you don't have to use your ruler. And now we're going to go down, up, down, so that there's kind of like a W happening here, okay? Make sure you have the W. It goes up. The mountain goes up there. And now we're going to do our very last line. And you're going to go to about here. You're going to draw a line to about there. Okay. And then we're going to do Europe, 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 and Asia. Now notice that we didn't add things in like all the islands down here. We didn't put Tasmania down here because we're not doing a super detailed map. When we get to those those continents, then we will add more detail. Okay, now all we have to do is do the oceans. So we've got the Arctic Ocean, the North Pacific Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean, the South Pacific Ocean, and the South Atlantic. And then we've got the Southern Ocean down here. And finally the Indian Ocean. Ocean is how we do it in spelling. Ocean. Okay, let's see. Let's check our map. Make sure we've got all the things over here. I think we've got it. All right, so now we have made a map from memory. And there you go. This is the world map. Thank you very much for watching.